Welcome to Stationery by Justine. On this channel, I hope to inspire you to create something beautiful. If you like what you see, please like the video and consider subscribing for future videos. I am a Spellbinders influencer, so some of the products that I show in my videos are sent to me. If you're interested in anything that I'm showing, I will have products linked in the description, and I do have some cards available on my Etsy shop. Let's get into today's video. Today I'm going to be working with the Koala Smiles card kit of the month from Spellbinders, and this is the card kit for May 2022. And it comes with so many things, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But for this first card, I wanted to show how you can get the most out of your pattern paper. So I have two strips of, technically they are scraps, and I'm going to hide the line in between them with another scrap. And it doesn't look like I used 3 pieces of pattern paper. It looks like one larger one in the back and one in the front. So it's just a little trick that I use sometimes to make my pattern paper go a little farther, especially with pattern paper that I think is really nice to use or pretty. I love the koalas on the back of this one, so I had to use it twice. So I went ahead and made the koala on the left already, and the koala on the right is looking a little disheveled, but I will be assembling that soon. Now, that koala is made from the dies from the card kit. So it has a head die and a body, an arm, an ear, and nose, hands, and it has the die for the tree trunk and the leaves. Additionally, it has words like what I'm using here, and the words are let's, hang, there, in, and soon. So you can make phrases like let's hang soon, let's hang in there. And for this card, I'm using the phrase let's hang because there are 2 koalas. Now, for putting the head and body together, there is a little line on the, I would call it the upper neck, if you will, that shows you where the head connects to the body right there. So I'm going to put some liquid glue on there, and I'm using Barely Art glue for my liquid glue. And these reverse tweezers kind of pinch it for me. Now the ear that's on the right side of the koala, or the right side of the video here, shows the dimension of the koala. It shows the back ear. Now for the eyes, I'll show you on another head. You just take a piece of black paper and put it through. I suppose you could use white or another color, but I chose black since it was kind of like sleepy looking. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Then I glued that top arm on the back, and that top arm is going to help my koala hang on to the branch. And on this one, it's going to go underneath the first koala, so I slid it down, and then I'm going to take the arm and kind of hold the tree. And I kind of have to wiggle it around a little bit, but it is fairly easy to assemble. I know that I've dealt with other dies that have been a little more complicated than this one, so if this is the first time that you're assembling something like this, I wouldn't be too worried, because you can just kind of follow the directions either on the back of the paper that comes in the kit, or you can watch a video like this and maybe watch it a couple times and you'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. So let's talk about what is in the kit. It always comes with the 10 card bases and 10 envelopes, and that's just to kind of jumpstart you and get you started making cards. And it comes with 9 pieces of cardstock, and those are 8.5 by 11. So what I like to do with those is cut them into fourths, and I use them for the background or for things like this where I am matting white paper or other paper onto some colored paper. And I already did talk about the dies that it comes with, but it does come with those dies, and you can certainly use those with other cards and kind of pair them with other things. It also comes with a stamp set. I will be using that quite a bit here in my series of cards here. Some puffy sentiments. Those are things like thanks and happy birthday, smile, and those are gold this time. And some chipboard embellishments, which will be shown in different cards. Some die cut shapes. I think sometimes people call them ephemera. It's the same thing. And foam squares and some double-sided adhesive tape. So it has a lot in the kit to try to get you to create your own designs. Now, you might have looked at what is in the ephemera, and you might be thinking that Australia that is in the frame is not an ephemera piece. Where did it come from? It actually came from a piece of pattern paper from the pattern paper pad, and I cut out Australia because I thought that the koala was kind of on brand or on theme, if you will, with Australia. So I'm going to be using another koala from the dies on this card, so Australia it was. And I used that little frame that came with the ephemera pack to make a little sign that the koala is going to be holding. And that brown thread that I have here in this video, I got from Dollar Tree, or I guess $1.25 tree now with inflation. But you don't have to have expensive things to craft and have them look nice. So just thought I'd mention that. With this card kit, I am planning to have 3 videos for sure on. So if you enjoy this one, stick around for the next 2 and you can see all the cards that I make. I'm going to be showing on YouTube 31 cards that I've made with this card kit. But if you're interested in seeing more, you can head over to a Facebook group that I run, and the link for that is in the description of this video. I really like using layers of cardstock and pattern paper like this panel that I just made, just to give the card a little bit of extra interest with this bold die with the bear or the koala. I guess koalas are not bears, fun fact. I just wanted to kind of use the pattern paper but not have the koala be lost in it. And I did leave this sign here kind of swinging free. I know that if it flips around it's not the most beautiful, but hopefully they don't swing it too hard, whoever receives that card. Now with this card, I am using the paper scraps again to create a background, and I will be using those letters that say hello darling, and those are chipboard stickers, but they aren't very sticky, so I'm going to be adhering these onto the card in kind of a strategic way. So for this card, when I'm using the chipboard letters, I'm going to start with the middle of the longest letter, or the longest word, which is L, and kind of work my way out and use a little bit of liquid glue because the chipboard stickers aren't extremely sticky and they will pop off pretty easily. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of glue and kind of be fussy with them and kind of wiggle them around, use my tweezers, kind of push them, hold it, look at it, see if it's lined up, and go from there. Then I'm going to use the position of the darling to set the hello letters in because I'm going to have those line up. And it is a little bit of a putsy time, but it is worth it because I think it looks really sweet at the end. Then I'm going to take this tiny picture of koalas and put those onto the mug and use some liquid glue and stick it on where that space is. Then I'm going to put one of the puffy hearts and one of the chipboard hearts that has a little design on it right on to the pattern paper, and it's going to kind of look like the hearts are coming out of the mug. Then I'm going to take some of the brown string and wrap it around my card front and just tie a simple knot. Sometimes when I use string like this, I will wrap it around the cardstock before putting it onto the card base, and then that string won't be in the inside, but this time I didn't think about it, so it will have a string on the inside, and that's fine with me. Then I chopped off the edges, and I am going to put a bow right on top with some glue. I just find this to be a little less fussy rather than tying a bow onto the card and having the card wiggle around. Then I will just give it a little haircut and trim the edges. Now for my next two cards, I wanted to use some of the stamps from the stamp set from the kit and make some extra interest to the pattern paper. So I'm going to be stamping all over these papers, and I'm sorry that my camera is wiggling a little bit because of the stamping, but hopefully it's okay. There are the large flowers and then these little flowers that I will use to fill in the areas, so it will be kind of a full background. I do like to have some of the stamps going off of the edge, so it looks more intentional, like this is just part of the pattern paper. But it obviously isn't because you can see me stamping with it. Then for this other one, I'm going to use the large flower and just put the flowers right on the bottom to show kind of the flowers coming up from the bottom of the card. And for this one, it will just be 3 of those. And some of it will come off the edge, and that's okay. Then I matted that on some black cardstock, and now I'm going to add some ephemera pieces to finish off the card. It will be a heart, and then the 3 stamps that came in the ephemera pack. And I thought it was kind of neat that the heart had kind of a little graph paper on the back, and the pattern paper for the card had a notebook paper line, so it kind of looked a little school themed. But you really could use this card for other occasions as well. I do really like using the reverse tweezers when I'm trying to place an image down and not have my hand be in the way. Now for this card, back to this one, I am going to kind of have this be a happy birthday with butterflies. So there is a happy birthday ephemera piece that I am kind of working with right now to get some foam on the back, and that will be in the bottom left of the card. Just says happy birthday. And then I'm going to use several of the butterflies from the kit. Some of them are ephemera pieces, so they're very thin, and some of them are the chipboard stickers, so they're a little bit thicker. Now with butterflies, I typically do just what I did there, where I take the foam and I put the foam on the wings, and then I will put liquid glue in the center of the body part of the butterfly. Then I will put it down, and it will look like the butterfly is landed on the card. So the body touches the card and the wings pop up. And for these littler ones, I had to kind of get particular with the foam, but that's okay. Then I'll just press it down where that liquid glue is, and it does stay very nicely. And that was a chipboard sticker, so no foam for that one, which is just fine because I think it gives the card a little bit of variety when they're different. And there are typically some kind of butterfly, bug, or dragonfly, something like that, that comes in most kits. So I usually have quite a few butterfly cards in my stash, which is always kind of cheerful. And that finishes off this card. And this card is kind of a collage card. So when I am opening up a card kit, I see things that kind of go together, and these kind of all have the like vintage travel theme kind of going to them. So I just kind of put them down on the card, and now that I'm going to assemble it, I kind of play around with the placement of how I want things to look. So I have these two larger pieces that are going to kind of be sideways and sit like they are pictures on a table. So just like that. And it has a camera, and it will have a little bubble that's a smile coming out of the camera. Then there are two little other pieces that say airmail, and I'm not sure what the other one says. I can't remember. It's something about a ticket. So this card will probably be used as like graduation or maybe even a birthday. So it doesn't really have a one set occasion. So it might even go in my all occasion or blank card stash. Now, after planning out a lot of cards, I am left with a lot of scraps. So I took these scraps here and laid them out in a way that looked good to my eye, and took some purple craft tape and just made them one long piece. Then with some liquid glue, I will put them onto the card, gently press down, and then peel off the purple tape very carefully to not rip any of the scrap papers off. And I found this is kind of a fun way to use up my scrap paper, especially because this kit had a lot of really pretty detailed pattern papers, like the flowers and the dots were really nice, and I didn't want to just throw them away. So I'm going to use the scraps here, and then you could really do this technique with a lot of other things with your scraps, and then put a ephemera piece on, or even a sentiment like this, enjoy. And it's kind of a quick card that doesn't have to be a lot of stamping or cutting or anything too elaborate. It's just scraps and a sentiment and an ephemera piece. And with the letters this time, I wanted it to kind of be playful, so I don't have them going in a nice straight line. They're kind of flowing, going up and down. And if you didn't like the word enjoy, you could just use joy. So it's just another way to stretch out those letters. And that's the end of that card. Pretty simple. Now with this one, I wanted to use the stamps on these two scrap papers to make two panels for my card. Typically when I do stamp, I will use my Misty stamping platform, but for this, if it's just a small piece of paper, I will just grab an acrylic block. Sometimes when I stamp, especially if it's a sentiment, I will make a few extra, and so that's what you see in the right upper hand corner. I had that sentiment and I used it on another card, and since I was stamping it, I just stamped another one just because I knew I'd be using it. So that's just one other little thing that I sometimes will do. So now all I have left to do is trim off the white excess part of my sentiment. So I first went in with my We Are Memory Keepers trimmer, and it just wasn't quite cutting it. Pardon the pun. So I wanted to really get in there and make sure that the edge was secure. And since it's very thin, I grabbed my Tim Holtz mini trimmer. And because of that clear guide on the side, it was able to hold this really small sentiment and give me the line that I was hoping for. And I first trimmed it like this because I just want to leave a little bit to make a tail. So to do that, I cut straight through the middle, and then I go to the corners and I cut diagonally in like that, And then I go to the other side and I cut it in like this. I don't know who made up how to do that, but I've seen many other people do it, so I don't think it belongs to any one person. And I think that it is basically the easiest way I make little banners for my sentiments. Now, I put those panels down and it just didn't look finished, so I'm going to use this cream piece of paper. And this cream piece of paper is actually what some people will call garbage, because this is the back of the puffy sticker packaging. So the puffy stickers came in a packaging that had this paper in the back, and then it was wrapped in the plastic. And instead of just throwing it away, I always save those thicker pieces because they are thicker and it kind of adds a little bit of dimension. So here we are using it. So it was definitely worth hanging on to. Since that paper is thicker, I'm just going to add a piece of that thicker paper to the back of my sentiment in just the corner, so it won't be falling uneven on top of my card. Then with a little liquid glue, I will attach everything to my card. I really have enjoyed using Barely Art glue because it does have that precision tip and it dries quickly. So I definitely would recommend that liquid glue if you're looking for a liquid glue to use in your crafting. Now for my next card, I used 2 pieces of scrap again for that background, and then I used 2 more pieces for this middle piece, and that covers up that line. And I did push it down just so it would be off center just a little bit. Then I used foam tape and popped up my sentiment and 2 flowers. And that's it for this card. Very, very simple. Now for the next one, I decided to make kind of a collage scene. I have the koala paper in the back, and then this peach kind of like river lake dimension, and this green plaid to kind of mimic the grass. Then I have these little shapes that I cut out to kind of mimic a hill or kind of a background. And then I have my nice little koala. And I think I just said koala. Well, I do have quite a lot of koalas on this card, but this is obviously a kangaroo, and I positioned it to be jumping. Then my second kangaroo I'm putting inside my card, just so it's adding a little bit of interest. And I took that frame with the Australia inside, similar to card number 1, and made Australia go into a frame. Then I have the sentiment Bunches of Thanks, and that is from the stamp set, and I'm fussy cutting this out to look like a cloud to kind of add to my scene that I have going on here. And I'm going to mount it on just some gray paper just to give it a little bit of a depth to it, so it doesn't just blend into the background. And I'm hearing the rest with some liquid glue. So if you are interested in watching 20 more cards, please stick around and watch number 2 and number 3. And if you're interested in this kit, you can go ahead and click the link in the description, and that will bring you right to the sign up page. So you can sign up for this until about 6 days before the first of the month. There are extra clubs that you can sign up for like a small die, the large die, the amazing paper grace die, which is usually very intricate and very fun to use. There's also the hot foil, the glimmer hot foil. So if you're interested in doing any hot foiling, this is a really great way to start building up your stash of foils. And there's also the clear stamp. And I would recommend the clear stamp and coordinating dies if you're interested in the stamping aspect. There's also the embossing folder. So that really can be used with so many different things. So I loved the embossing folder for April with that circle in the center, and it kind of radiated out. And I thought that was very beautiful. So you can make so many different things with the things from the club items, and it's a great way to build up your stash if you are new to card making, or if you are a seasoned card maker. It's a great addition to your stash. So thank you so much for watching, and as I've said, come on back for Koala Smiles number 2 and 3. Bye.